But Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
We have had a lot of global trade. What happens with global trade is consumers around the world, and particularly the American consumer, which is probably the largest engine of consumption in the world, they will follow the lowest price. Foreign goods, they have a tax put on them. And then that tax comes through to the American consumer, and it incentivizes Americans to buy goods that are not taxed, that are lower priced, which are local or American goods, or foreign countries doing business in America. Because they disincentivize Americans to buy foreign goods, the American consumption engine then starts to buy less of these foreign goods, and actually affects the growth of that country. That's where President Trump is getting his leverage with all of this tariff talk. But that is the essence of how it works.
The United States has been taken advantage of for 40 years. The United States has been a laughingstock for years and years. That's why this gentleman is built in Taiwan instead of building here. It would have been better if he built here.
Well, I think the short term, there will be some trade chaos. And that's just because the system is recalibrating. And anytime you try to do a massive change in a short period of time to a massive system with trillions of variables, yes, you're going to have some disruption in the system. What Trump is counting on is that these countries, their gross domestic product, or how we measure growth, is significant, has a significant portion from American consumerism. So when you take Mexico or you take Canada, most of their exports come into the United States. And the United States consumption represents a huge percentage of their overall economy and GDP. So Trump is betting on the fact that he's saying, okay, if you don't do what I want you to do, right? So for Mexico and Canada, it has a lot to do with fentanyl.
The fentanyl coming through Canada is massive. The fentanyl coming through Mexico is massive.
If you don't let Americans participate in the same way, there are some restrictions in Canada on American banks, then I'm going to put tariffs on you. And he's hoping that the tariff threat damages their GDP enough to have them capitulate into doing what he wants, which is along the lines of his America First agenda, which he feels got him elected.
The biggest win is not the tariff. That's a big win. That's a lot of money. But the biggest win is if they move into our country and produce jobs. That's a bigger win than the tariffs themselves.
If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
He has called and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that. And it would have been a very bad thing if he did. And he's not going to do that, so I respect that. Canada would be great as our cherished 51st state. You wouldn't have to worry about borders. You wouldn't have to worry about anything.
I think Trump is using that rhetoric to try and point out how Canada, in his view, has been largely subsidized by the United States. And that's going to kind of help the narrative when he's very hard on them. That's going to kind of help the narrative so that Americans support his decisions to say, yeah, why don't you just become our state? I mean, we're basically paying for you. And Americans, they are going to have a reaction to that, because if you travel around the US, you can see that there are lots of people with lots of needs, and they feel that the government is not fair and they're not getting their needs met. And then they're seeing, America's subsidizing these other countries in various ways, and even Ukraine. Then they get upset about that. And then that strengthens the voter incentive to support Trump in his decisions, even though they are very quick and they are large changes in a short amount of time.
And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect. America is not Canada. And Canada never, ever will be part of America in any way, shape, or form.
But we will take a pragmatic approach. We are, as he knows, negotiating an economic deal which covers and will include tariffs if we succeed. But we will keep all options on the table.